and we're going to have a quick session. Thank you so much for starting recording. This is an introductory video for the team today. Can you hear it?
I think the audio is not we cannot hear it. Can you reshare?
I think we can skip the video for today. So today the session is, the theme of today is climate, water, intergenerational innovation, and citizen livelihood. So I think we can skip the slide and go to the next one so we can start the conversation. Thank you, Caro.
Will be over 12.5.
Okay, so today we'll ask you to keep your video on if possible, show your name and company, and unmute yourself when you speak. And if there's any technical difficulties, please reach out. And I hope you enjoy. Today we have our hosts, all members of the Green Leaders group. We have Adiba Al-Mashri, architect and lead expert in sustainable design and associate director at Green Leaders. Habi Al-Fadel, co-founder of Green Leaders NGO, CEO of Fila Earth, managing director and of ZEF Concepts. Adna Akbar, team lead of Beirut Hair Quality Study at Green Leaders, head of CFD Dar Al Andasha, and Mohed Amin Al Tahan, a mechanical engineer and researcher, and we have also Chaza Kamahel, data analysis engineer and researcher. And I hand it over to the moderator.
Thank you, Carolina. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Air Quality and the Futures of Cities, the future we aim and want to build for our cities. Before we begin, I'd like to thank Mr. Abbas Sibai from Catalyst Now Lebanon chapter for his valuable support and facilitating our session today, and for the event organizers for hosting us today. Also, a special thanks goes to our founder, Ibrahim Ronfol, who couldn't attend today, and to our Green Leader member, Noor Baalbaki, for introducing us to Catalyst Now. We are now a member of this global exciting network. In today's session, we'll start our conversation with a quick introduction to Green Leaders and our mission. We'll then move to an overview of the Beirut air quality study with our expert engineers. Then we'll dive more deeply into a panel discussion with our esteemed speakers sharing their insights. And we'll definitely wrap up our session with Q&A where you can join the conversation. Please, Carolina, can you initiate the first poll question? This is a very quick question for everyone, and we would love to hear from you how you feel about your air quality, where you live. This will help us understand how this issue resonates globally. Wow, most of you or all of you extremely concerned. It means it's not an issue related only to our region. It's a shared challenge worldwide. Thank you, Carolina. Can you please proceed with this next slide? Allow me to introduce quickly who we are. Green Leaders is a Lebanese NGO founded in 2023, primarily operating in Lebanon with reach extending across the MENA region and global partnerships amplifying our impact. We are committed to advancing sustainable development and environmental stewardship. We bring together more than 35 professional members and student members and change makers. We are a group of researchers, engineers, architects, students united by a single vision, a vision where a cleaner, healthier, and more sustainable future is in our mind. Green Leaders NGO works to promote sustainability, We also believe in empowering youth to lead SDG-driven initiatives and create real change. Next slide, please. Green Leaders' mission also is to foster environmental awareness, advance sustainability research, and implement transformative initiatives that promote, for sure, energy efficiency, water stewardship, pollution mitigation, and climate resilience, all toward a more sustainable and cleaner, resilient future. As we said, the context of our session, it's important to remember that clean air is a human right. Air pollution is more than just an environmental issue. It's a matter of public health, climate resilience, justice, and our work at Green Leaders NGO reflects a shared commitment to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And we are here today as part of our mission to discuss how evidence-based research can shape sustainable, more resilient cities. For sure, the health of our air mirrors the health of our entire urban system, including energy and mobility. It's all connected. And Beirut's case illustrates the challenges faced by many cities in the global south, particularly across the MENA region. Before diving into our Beirut air quality study with our young engineers, let's test our collective intuition by answering this bold question. Which source do you think contributes most to air pollution in Beirut and other or similar cities? Are we seeing the results, Carolina? I'm not able to see you.
Yes, we are able to see the results.
All the answers has responded to diesel generators. Great response. Let us see how public perception aligns with what the data reveals. To walk us through what has been achieved so far, I'm pleased to invite our young engineers and researchers, Mohammed Tahan and Shazak Mayil. They joined the Green Leaders as university students and has since played key roles in our Beirut air quality research and other successful projects. The floor is yours, Mohammed, please.
Thank you, Adiba. Hello, everyone. Today we are going to dive deeper into the Beirut air quality research. Beirut, a city once vibrant, has faced a multitude of challenges over the past 4 years. A severe energy crisis has left it reliant on diesel generators operating almost 24 hours a day to compensate the near total collapse of the national electricity supply, EDL, as we can see in the image. The environmental, social, economic, and healthcare implications of this dependency are significant, particularly regarding the air quality. Next slide, please. And in response to these challenges, Green Leaders launched a study in the summer of 2024 to assess the impact of diesel generator emissions on the city's air quality in Beirut, and specifically in Verdun, focusing on the PM2.5 pollution. The main key drivers of the rising PM2.5 levels in Beirut might be the diesel generators, due to the near continuous operation, which emits large quantities of fine particulate matters into the atmosphere, the traffic and urbanization, since an increased vehicular emissions and construction activities were added to the city's pollution burden, and the policy and infrastructural gap, since there is no or there is a weak environmental reinforcement, which adds to the air quality issue, leaving the city vulnerable to unchecked pollution sources. In this figure, we can okay. This yes. Okay. Okay. No. Before it. I'm sorry. Okay. In this figure, we can see on the red label there is the Verdun, where we focused on this region specifically in Beirut. Okay. Next, please. Okay. In our case, the studied area included a radius of 450 meters from Verdun, where it reached the areas close to the Mediterranean Sea. We chose that radius to ensure that the air quality assessment includes diverse population and environmental factors, and it captured socio-economical areas, difference in wind patterns, and also it includes coastal regions. Okay, next, please. Next slide, please. Yes. Okay. Yes, the next one. Okay. To measure the pollutants, we have placed the measuring device, which monitored various pollutants like the PM2.5, PM10, CO2, NO2, and VOC. This device has been collecting data continuously, and it is lively uploaded on the website and on our website, and you can scan the code to get the readings of it. Okay, next, please. Okay. Moving on, we conducted a survey where we asked residents in the studied area about the diesel generator consumption, which helped us indicate the diesel burnt over the amount of periods of years in duration. Okay, and the generator's operation hours, which indicated the low and peak production of the pollutants. The maintenance frequency, which helped us understand how the generator's conditions impacted the quality. And in addition, we also collected the stack height, since a lower stack can influence the pollutant disruption differently than a taller one. The study contained over 400 buildings, which made it a comprehensive data for our analysis. Okay, next, please. Thank you. After gathering information from residents of around 70 buildings, we performed a typology by classifying all the buildings into categories, which are residential, commercial, and other special types such as schools and malls. The key factors in this typology are analyzed based on the building type and the total floor area to support the survey findings. Since surveying all of the 400 plus buildings would be impractical. And after performing the typology, we have validated it, and we have, and by doing a validation. And to do so, we took samples from the collected data and applied the typology on them. And when we compared the extrapolated diesel consumption with the actual collected data, we found that they were almost identical. And this consistency served as a validation for our approach. And you can see in this figure, this is a building sample from our study. Next, please. Thank you. To you, Adiba. You are muted.
Now you are hearing me.
Yes.
Thank you, Muhammad, for that great overview. Our study is the start of a new urban narrative. That's why the data behind this study matters. We'll now take our last full question to get your thoughts before diving into our next phase of our study. Which factors do you think most affects how pollution spreads in cities? Please, Carolina, initiate the poll.
By the way, this is a very tough question that is difficult to give it the proper weighting. Every city has a slightly different element of it, because there is a background, especially on the wind and the weather, but there is much more than that. But anyway, interesting question.
The major responses till now is building height and density. Interesting to see how perceptions vary between our audience and our speakers and researchers. Next slide, please.
Okay, so now let's move on to the data analysis phase of our project, which is the technical part of our research. The main goal here is to understand how pollutant levels change over time and across locations, and to identify the key factors behind these changes, mainly diesel use, traffic activity, and weather conditions. Once we find the correlations between pollutants and their sources, we'll be able to build an accurate CFD model and use it to support cleaner database decisions for Beirut's air quality. Next slide, please. Okay, so for this analysis, we're combining several data sets. We have air quality measurements from our live outdoor station in Verdun, which tracks PM2.5, PM10, CO, NO2, and VOCs. We also include climate data such as wind speed, wind direction, rainfall rate, and temperature, and diesel generator survey data such as fuel consumption and generator power ratings. Finally, we're adding traffic data showing vehicle flow and peak hour congestion. Together, these data sets allow us to see how pollution is linked to both human activity and the environment. Please, the previous slide. Okay, so our analytical approach starts with consolidating all data into one software platform. In our case, we're using SPSS. We then observe daily and seasonal trends and compare them with other factors like weather, traffic, or urban density. After finding the most accurate relationships and equations, we prepare the input parameters for our 3D model. Next slide, please. The next phase is the CFD modeling, which stands for Computational Fluid Dynamics. It's a 3D simulation that shows how air moves around buildings in Verdun and how pollutants spread or get trapped. We'll include data from diesel and traffic sources, along with real wind directions to make the model realistic. This will help us visualize pollution hotspots and air stagnation zones, and even test how changes like reducing diesel use or improving traffic flow could help clean the air. Through this, we aim to predict Verdun's air quality in the coming years using real data. From this phase, we expect four main outcomes: a better understanding of how air behaves in Beirut's dense urban areas, the ability to predict future air quality trends, evidence to guide cleaner energy and mobility planning, and stronger public and policy awareness about air quality issues. Finally, here's a quick look at our progress and the outlook. Our data collection is complete and the diesel and traffic surveys are now under analysis. The CFD simulation is being developed and our final integrated results are expected next year. Even though the study is still in progress, we are already learning a lot about how pollution behaves and how we can manage it better in the future. And to conclude, this phase connects everything: people, pollution, and policy. By using real data, we can move from reacting to air problems to actually predicting and preventing them. It's a step toward a cleaner and healthier future for Beirut. Thank you.
Thank you, Shaza. And for everyone for staying with us, insightful information. Now joining us for a deeper discussion on how our study connects science, design, and policy is Rabia Al-Fadl, our co-founder, who always reminds us to set impossible goals and think beyond limits. Welcome, Rabia.
Thank you.
Rabia, what were the main drivers that led Green Leaders to initiate the Beirut air quality study?
Yeah, first of all, really just great work by the team. Actually, it's we didn't even think we going to get so fast to this very level with the quality of the research and how much has been done so far. That's I really commend all of you for that. How did it start? I think I would like to maybe the background is where and how Green Leaders started originally. It's a combination of a long history and experience in sustainability and green and architecture at the same time in the greening, the construction industry. That at certain stage we felt that should be really built up towards Beirut, or at least our country. All of us, we are diaspora all around, a lot of experience. This is one side of it. At the same time, is people to be reminded that Beirut, due to the civil war that in the early 70s or mid 70s, more or less, it went into a disaster when it comes to its urban master planning. So there was an accumulation of mistakes is happening on a city that is very, very dense. Now, that is in general. So neither the energy sector was doing very well. Even the cost on the energy was enormous. I have with Dr. Harajli a paper that was issued led by him showing the cost of electricity in Lebanon 2006 was enormous. It could be up to 70 cents per kilowatt hour, even if you want to calculate it properly. And that's to do, funny enough, with the integration of generators into the city and the on and off, the impact towards that everyone. So in general, when you work on the sustainability framework and you look where our city is, our capital is far behind it. Now, I think what kept this city going properly is the resilience of the people. So the system collapsed. Meanwhile, the mitigation policy were done on individual levels. And that cannot continue because that led to another problem. So to cut the story short, the idea of making sure that we can bring something into our capital or to our country started from there. Now, if you look at, there are different topics, of course. There is the energy, there is the water, there is the ecological landscape, there is the material procurement, and the pollution aspects of it, and the environmental quality that will be required internally. So if you look at Beirut, or let's talk about Lebanon. People, they do not know that Lebanon has been categorized one of the most polluted countries in the world. Actually, China is better than us. Nigeria is better than us. Egypt is better than us. And this is really in a place with such, I would say, intensity of capabilities and eagerness. It shouldn't happen that way. So that is one side. So people they need to know that we are in a really awkward position, not to add to the fact that we have even the explosions and the war that will add to it, which is something even this simulation will not calculate for different reasons. But that have an impact. And if you look at, let me zoom into the pollution and while we've gone into the air quality. One is definitely extremely important. It doesn't need to be the priority on the list, but this is when you are trying to do something, you look at what is available for you at a starting point. And I would say where we can achieve some progress here without having a obstacles or barrage of, let's say, problems that we are facing. Studying the air and where we are studying is part of we want to start rather than waiting for the bigger picture and try to really solve the problem of electricity or solve the problem of the water in a certain way. So we started with the air pollution. It looks to us that this is the easy starting point, but with a big impact. So I'm just leading to where we are and why we are in here and the selection of what problem we're trying to solve. There is a priority list. This comes into the priority list, but it wasn't supposed to be the first one. But within the opportunities that we have, we've gone for this phase one, and we're hoping to make a big impact because of what we're trying to do. And we were lucky to be offered a station for us to test through the connection of Ibrahim himself. So that is one side of it. So if you look at the PM 2.5, the PM 5 and PM 10, again, Beirut itself is a really, really highly polluted city for a number of reasons. Now, the starting point is the jungle, the concrete jungle that the city ended up to be. Now, it's not creating the right corridors. B, is not green. C, even the heights and the massing of the buildings did not take that into consideration. There's a collapse on the urban planning side of it. And there's much, much more coming into that. So there is a serious reason for us to do really urgently study to understand and to choose the right places that we can operate within. And this is why we've chosen the Verdun itself and where it is. Now, in a country like Lebanon, when you are designing anything, especially on the master planning of a city, and you're trying to put the multi-layer on the environmental, when you look at the social, look at the economical side of it, one thing is Lebanon has all the environmental forces that you need. So in a place like here, where environmentally on the forces on the wind side, if you look at the wind, Lebanon has enough wind to create what we call it the purging impact of cleaning the city from air coming from the sea. So we have enough in line with this and across the whole sort of seasons. That is one. So we have the forces, but still those forces that were not really passively or actively being used just to clean the city. This is one side of it. The second one, when it looks at the temperature that we have in the country, we are very blessed with a very moderate temperature. And therefore there is something there, and it's with the swing. And I think we are not able even to use that due to a number of reasons. One of it is the way we went into creating much higher thermal massing in the city, one side of it. The temperature in Beirut, if you want to do proper testing to that, will be for sure, if it's slightly on the outside of it, 8 degrees higher than what it's supposed to be. So they could be a serious element of a pollution. It's been led by pockets due to certain heats and due to certain lack of thermal siphon impact within the city. And without going into more details, there was an urgency to see exactly how we're going to really to deal with this very one. 8 million people, they die basically because of the pollutions internationally. If you look at the number of the impact of the pollution globally, we're talking about trillions of dollars is being lost because of this pollution issue on the health base, because of the health. I don't know how many kids we are losing in Lebanon on daily basis because of this impact coming from the pollutions. And you can add and add and add to the story. So here we are, I think we are tackling an extremely important point, and that can lead to something else. We can really educate more and more while we have to move immediately, having an impact on how we are designing the city, having an impact on how we're going to really to capture the carbon and to capture the pollution coming out from this new generator culture that we have. That is a second one. Thirdly, when it comes to the congestion, how we're going to green even the movement of the cars or the transportations in a country. I remember, I'm 61 this year. I remember when I was extremely young, when you go downtown to Beirut, it was a tramway. All right. Yes, there was traffic, but my goodness me, we've never seen that pollution that we look at it. And today, if you look at in Beirut, if you live on the first floor in Beirut, by the way, you are more prone for even more problems. Why? Because we don't have the proper planning, taking the environmental mitigation strategy into play. We don't have any lungs in the city when it comes to the greening. But we used to have on top of the buildings what we call the green roofs. And this is the 60s, this is the 50s, this is the 70s. They do not exist anymore. And we don't have any even, I would say, a structure linked to the planning to deal with the matter. I will leave it to this, but I will continue. So I'm not sure if that's enough to explain why we are here at the moment.
That's a powerful overview, Rabia. The motivation behind our study, it's really setting the stage for actions to be taken in the future.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, Adnan Akhdar was not able to join us today due to unexpected emergency. He's our CFD modeling expert and team lead of the Beirut Air Quality Study. However, his expertise in modeling complex urban environments helped us see invisible pollution patterns with clarity. In this context, Rabia, briefly, how does combining field monitoring, surveys, and CFD modeling enhance the reliability of air quality analysis, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think just as a tool, the CFD is one of the most powerful, I would say, tools in my mind to be able for us. I will explain a bit further, but it's not easy to fill the boots of Adnan. This is his field. But, you know, since I've been in the industry for the last 30 years, CFD was one of the most important elements of it, even when it was extremely expensive those days, just to understand the behavior with the different parameters changing immediately. It's never easy to do the testing by itself. But let me start with a point here. The CFD itself is not just it gives you a simulation, or it gives you a virtual sort of world, or it gives you a twinning world that you can really understand. It does allow you in the future to create what we call it a life analysis for different points at the same time. But, and this is extremely important, that CFD modeling, basically, we are putting a mesh over the massing of the city and trying to understand the different impacts coming into it. A CFD previously had an issue because some of the radiation it wasn't easy to integrate into it, because we're talking about the different convection elements, the radiation element into the conduction element, and the wind speed that comes into different directions. There are a few bits that were not easy, because of the technology, because it needs a lot of running time for it to converge into a decision. But at the same time, there are certain elements we didn't understand very well. Now, the beauty of combining the CFD with the real data that we've seen, which is really, this is a very rich data that we start to get and will allow us to analyze. Here we have a reality on testing point by point where we have pollution in certain places. It's nearly impossible for us to do testing everywhere. That is one side of it. So is jurisdiction element, and I would even take it to further because of the security element of this. Anything that we are doing testing and sensing is open up from a cybersecurity element. It might be a bit more an issue in any place. Having said that, this is extremely important for us to test certain specific points and have an iteration and feeding back into a CFD model to give it a I would say, adjustment to the finding or what it's going to give us. So here we cannot have a CFD without having some data sensitivity analysis and data feed into it to adjust how we are basically simulating or modeling, because there will be a number of errors and there will be a number of assumptions. And with those assumptions, we need to really make sure that we are right about it. So there will be definitely testing in the right place for the right sources of pollutions at the same time, and feeding into the simulation to build up a model. And this is where the beauty of the CFD and the extremely importance of the CFD is not just by reading what we have, is by the different mitigation measures that we try to put into the city. We'd like to see what's the domino effect and what is the correlation strategy, correlation impact of one mitigation, what weighting we're going to put into it, which one will have a priority, which one will cost the most, which one we can negotiate earlier. And those under the CFD, we create that mesh that will make us decide, analyze immediately, and predict straight away. And we're talking about a multi-directional, I would say, wind coming into the city in the different windrows. We have even, don't underestimate the rain, don't underestimate the waste management impact coming into this pollution. And there are a number of different aspects of it, and they will feed back into the behavior. So the CFD is a very powerful tool that will make us decide, analyze, and feed immediately into the decision, into the city regulation and standards, and predict what to be done in the fastest, quickest possible way. And adding to it, two things in here. It's life analysis immediately over any points within the city. But at the same time, it will feed into the creative mind because every now and then you need to come up with something that will spark a new idea. Like people, they do not realize if we start to build in Beirut, there was an attempt a long time ago with a friend of mine, Nadim Karam, who was at the AUB, but he was creating, he's still creating some of these statues. There was an attempt if we can create statues in Beirut. One of the ideas in my mind was, can we create some statues, some arts that will be part of diverting wind or capturing carbon and dealing with that within the city, within the facades? But you can always go with this by having a CFD model that will predict the impact of this very one and reduce dramatically the cost impact on that.
Yeah, it's a great technical insight, Rabia. Indeed, it gives us a strong sense how integrated methods build credibility, how we combine the on-ground data with advanced modeling, which helps us make the invisible pollution visible. We are now not reacting to pollution, but preventing it through design and decisions we are taking forward. Yeah, we have done a lot of field surveys and experienced a lot during our research. Shaza, from your field experience, what are the most significant pollution patterns or hotspots identified so far in Beirut?
Yes, Adiba. So from our field measurements so far, we've observed some clear pollution patterns in Beirut. One of the most consistent findings is in the morning pollution peak, especially between 6 and 9 a.m. This happens when traffic increases and the private diesel generators start operating at the same time. We also noticed that pollution levels are higher during dry weather when rainfall is low and the wind speeds are weak. Under these conditions, pollutants stay trapped between buildings, especially in dense urban areas like Verdun.
Okay, great. Those insights are so valuable, Shaza. We are linking data with how people experience the city every day. And when we look at pollution patterns, we are also looking at how our daily systems connect. And the other side of the challenges we have faced in our surveys, our research, collections of data and analysis, Mohammed, what were the key challenges you encountered in data collection, calibration, or correlating between monitoring and simulation?
Okay, so one of our main challenges during the data collection was maintaining continuous and reliable measurements, because in Beirut, power cuts and unstable internet sometimes interrupts the monitoring station. So we had to make sure the data was complete and accurate before the analysis. And another challenge was calibration, since we had to calibrate the measurement tool to give us a more accurate results. And one of the biggest challenges in correlating the data and simulation is the real urban environments, since they are very dynamic. So traffic, diesel use, and wind patterns are constantly changing in real life, which makes it harder to perfectly match the field data with the CFD model. But these challenges also helped us improve the process by combining multiple data sets and refining our model for the more realistic predictions.
Wonderful, Mohammed. It highlights the importance of precision and consistency,
Yes.
which are critical for translating our research into trustworthy results. Thank you, Mohammed. Back to Rabia, building on what our speakers mentioned and what you have told us about the CFD modeling as a planning tool, for example, for planners and decision makers. What urban design changes could most effectively reduce emissions, and how can policymakers turn these findings into long-term actions?
Yeah, I think it's that goes back to how master planning should be done. This is one side of it, how master planning should be done. But you have old cities and you have new cities. In new cities, you can even control this and start from scratch. With an old city like Beirut, you have to look at the different mitigation strategies. And there is a complexity when it comes to this, all right? The complexity is not by having a simple, I would say, you cannot widen a road, let's say in Beirut, easy. You know, that's one side of it. You cannot really say, I want to have cyclists and you don't have proper places to pass. Our roads are too small. You cannot come and say, I need to really, this is part of the design. When you have a taller building in a well-developed places, it will really bring the clean air inside certain areas. So it's a big task. And that, if it comes to just engineering and architecture and planning, that is easy. But when it comes to you are faced with a layers of social issues, and you're talking about places that, you know, Beirut was built, if you look at Beirut and the suburb, was mushroomed into a, unfortunately, and that is, you can't blame anyone because of the civil war and what happened later on. So there is a densities in unliked places. And if you want to go and mitigate it, you cannot mitigate in some streets, certain areas, then and other places you cannot even easily discuss it. And again, this is nothing to blame the community within that very place. So it's a big task, and it's not easy. And again, takes us back to why the need of highlighting this high resolution physics-based simulation of pollutant dispersion with a complex urban environment, because those exact numbers, unlike the traditional sort of calculation that we have, they really they give numbers, and these numbers they are powerful, and these numbers are the impact, and these numbers hopefully will, when people are more educated and they are seen as voters, they will have those topics as part of why and who they want to vote for. And that will have an impact, trust me. But this is where elevating and people should understand what is the best streets in their mind, what to improve the streets. But even we need to bring into, this is the Green Leaders' big mission, is how we're going to bring into it in even the poorest zones in Beirut or even in the country, how are we going to mitigate this? How there will be a lot of creative measures to be added into those places to improve all the qualities. And that should be part of the urban planning and the budget coming into it. But again, that takes me back. This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to create an evidence-based, right, and decision-making for urban planners and policymakers, and with a very powerful tool. I hope I'll answer your questions in the way you've asked it.
Very, very, very impressive, Rabia, as usual. These are critical points indeed. As we are moving forward in Green Leaders' mission, we are moving also closer to have a truly data-driven, human-centered cities in our mind and our commitments and our initiatives. Wrapping our impressive discussion with you, Rabia, at the end, what next steps does Green Leaders envision to expand or deepen the study's impact on a regional level?
Okay, I think, as I said, Beirut has or Lebanon has all the forces required for us to think of how we're going to have a nature-based solution, because this is, in a way, the cheapest and the most engaging and the most educational and aspiring at the same time, without having limitation of the extra high tech that will be required to deal with certain matters. So this is one side of it. So here, if you look at the Green Leaders, what would love to have in the sustainability framework that is set up with the number of these pillars, it will be great. Let's talk about step by step. I think you mentioned, if we want to do something, we need to have an impossible goal. And weirdly enough, the impossible goal is the one will force us to find solutions and make time much shorter in solving problems. And that is the story of Lebanese themselves. I mean, even when people were trying to rebuild their cities, it is unprecedented speed with a different sort of spirit. Now, because we have all the forces, because we have the right intellectual capital in the country, we are hoping that we will showcase some models in solving problems. But that transformation strategy is never going to be easy. But we need to be empowered with science. We need to be empowered with wellness. We need to be empowered with the youth. We need to be empowered with a belief why we're doing it, which is very important here. I mean, when someone is even looking at to pushing forward to even to green the streets based on some mitigation strategies that has been proposed through our science-based data, and we say, listen, if we put those type of trees in this corridor, or we can create patches of greenery in here. I'm giving the simplest example. And this is the impact that will have, because people never done that before. People never done to say, listen, I'm going to put that number of trees, and this is the big patch of greeneries, and this is the amount of pollution, or this is the impacts having, A, on the pollution, B, again, on the flooding, and you name it, even on the thermal massing of the city itself. Greening Beirut can reduce the temperature in Beirut by 6 to 8 degrees if we do it properly. Takes me back to, because we have the right elements, environmental elements in the city or in the country in terms of all the environmental forces. So it would be lovely to say, and this takes me back to the goal. I would love to say, because what we have as forces, to say Beirut is the cleanest capital in the world. And trust me, we can do that very well. Now, how to do it is the engagement and making it like more of a common denominator impact. We have universities, we have team outside, we have people everywhere. And just by achieving something like this takes me back how we're going to take the transformation to another level. But the experience is not about just us to use the tools. Yes, it is very important. Adding to the fact, now we are exposed, or we have more on the AI side of it, on the algorithm side of it, and how we're going to even enhance the analysis and to systemize it and to really take it to another level. Yes, but it's our capability, how we're going to, again, making people coming into this in the most neutral way and to cross the differences and make a movement that takes us to find all these solutions. Now, from a construction point of view, by the way, any contractor would love to hear that Beirut is a cleaner, because Beirut will be becoming, in a way, more valuable city. It will become more of a destination. It will actually bring a sense of stability and security. People, the neighborhood will start to fight to make sure there is nothing happening in that neighborhood. It will have a great impact. So we can seed, in line with this, the best way of transforming, and we start to export it elsewhere. But we have a long way to go in our place. But definitely, in my mind, it's not even an impossible task, because the impossible task is to create a really well-developed framework of sustainability in the city, engaging everyone, and that can be done.
Yeah. That's a powerful way to close our discussion, Rabia. Insightful information, point of views, perspectives. We appreciate your input. Carolina, please, next slide. Now, we'd love to hear from our audience any questions, reflections, or thoughts in your mind. The floor is yours.
There's no questions from the attendees. Maybe I can ask you one regarding the surveys that you did. What was the social approach? If they were in ground, or if you were focused on specific groups besides the geographical area, and how does that relate to your results?
Rabia, would you like to respond?
I think I would like the team to come into it, but it's okay. If I got the question right, basically, I mean,
if there were target populations besides the besides the people that live in the areas or the commercial owners?
Okay, let me start. I think a key of success is to find a first successful story. And for us, I don't know, Carolina, if you've been to Lebanon or you know Beirut very well. It's a beautiful place, and anyone goes into it doesn't want to leave, even if they're bombing inside, which is weird enough. But there is a complexity in our social fabrics, right? It is very, very complex. And there are certain places everyone is welcoming, but everyone sometimes is fearing why this is being done and why it's so. The choice of this area is a bit better in terms of it's a better well-off area, and where some of the team members, they have a presence on the ground. And when you assess, you can really operate there at early stage and start something. It's not where do you start is a key. It's not going to give us the full, I would say, statics of where we want to do. But definitely it will let us deal with the following. We'll start to understand how we're going to put certain things, who to ask on the streets, which building to go to, and the mix that this region has. Because remember, there is a difference between residential, by far, from the malls, from the offices, so it does have that mix, which is the whole of Beirut has it. But we needed a place where we can at least showcase a success story. But every place and you can go outside its zone and you face totally different way or different issues. All right. But this success story will allow us to gradually deal with other places. But you need to divide in your mind. Let me say it how it is. If you're skiing, you don't look at where the trees are. You look where the ways to go through it. If you focus on the tree, you hit the tree. For us, we were looking at a success story at this very stage, and that is the choice of this very place with the social fabrics where it is. We could see that we can have a success story immediately out of that very one. But there will be a lot of discussion, which is a very important question here, because who is going to allow you to do the sensing, where to put it in? One. With the generator, because in Lebanon we have generators dotted with a certain groups. Would that group allow you to come to do it or to showcase that they have an issue? It depends who they belong to. But they might come. They will be more welcoming if we have eventually some funding to come to capture the emission over these generators. And there were certain things like this. But the team, this is taking me to the point of the Lebanese. They are able to mitigate individually, and trust me, the team, I would say even Shaza or Mohammed or whoever is, will be able to deal with and on the social fabric on the ground there and then to decide how to talk, what to say, and to whom to address it. So it will be left without a systematic approach yet because of the mosaic of the fabric inside. But it's an extremely important question when you want to read to enlarge it and take it forward, and again, as to help on the transformation of the remaining of the regions. But I would love to hear it from Shaza, Mohammed, and the team that they dealt with. I don't know if Adiba as well.
Would you like
Yes, we
Muhammad to add something if you
have dealt
thought?
with complications, especially while dealing with residents. Some residents weren't that welcoming, and some were. Like some understood our mission, and some didn't understand or didn't believe in change. So yes, I can say regarding this point, yes, we have dealt with complications, but it was fine. We were nice to them, so there wasn't anything negative in this.
Shaza, would you like to add your thoughts? Thank you, Muhammad, for revealing what
Yes,
happened.
I dealt with the same issue since I was with Muhammad during our survey. But we managed these issues by being nice and yes.
Yeah, I think just Karina, it's maybe we need to add straight away. This is why the modeling is extremely important. Is when we are talking while we are measuring and we are coming in, this is what we're trying to do with the solutions. and those solutions can really improve the quality immediately on the spot. And again, you're talking about dealing with things in a particular place, because if when you say to someone, I'm cleaning or clearing or Beirut, it's a big, for some reason, some people say they don't care. But when you're trying to say I'm dealing with individual points, it does click. And if they start to then there is a solution to this very well, and this is what we have to push it, people will start to understand. And you can tell them this is your kit will be better. But you need to know how to say it in a certain context. It's actually very local context. I'm talking about local context within Beirut even itself. You cross certain streets, you talk in a different way. So, and I think this is maybe to tell you something as well, because of the security issue in Beirut, there are certain areas we couldn't enter. So we can't even measure at early stage. So there is a certain thing, not security of afraid, it's security, it's blocked, because we have politicians, you are not allowed to go to certain zones, and why you're putting sensors there. So it's a complex, and where we are today of what was being achieved and the choice where to put it in, I think it's a great stepping stone.
Thank you so much. I don't know if there's any more questions from the rest of the group. If so, please raise your hand.
Maybe I would like to ask questions for the team on the Green Leaders. I mean, especially, you know, we have an energy of youth. The question is, do you feel satisfied doing this work? And I would start with, let's say, ladies first. Shaza.
I do feel interested working in such research, but I'm also upset by the results, since the average of pollutants are way above the WHO guidelines, which put us and the next generation in high risks, which makes me disappointed.
Yeah, I think it's 30-something%, 40% higher than that's supposed to
Yes.
be from the measure on both PM side of it. Let me tell you something about this. I think I would say you should feel not happy in that sense. You should feel the responsibility of how we're going to really, because that is a severe, that would give us a reason why we have to do something with it in a way. So I feel it's more of a driver than to be upset about it. Definitely. The reason why, because the number of different, and this is our other sessions within the Green Leaders, where we sit down to talk about the different ideas that we can put through, of course, subject to funding and the social movement that we can have, or whatever, or the education, or integrating that into the schools. But I think that in a way, for me, it's a good finding, and that means anything we do will make a difference. Muhammad?
Sure, with your presence,
Yes.
Rabia, your inspiration.
Thank you, Rabia. Yes, it's a pleasure for me to work with such team. But as Shaza was saying, and like with time, the impact is getting bigger and bigger. For example, we were introduced to a bigger war, recently, and we can see the number has risen. Like we are way ahead of the WHO, especially after these effects. So that's unfortunate. But hopefully, this study will make us move towards a greener environment, or we can create ways or solutions. Hopefully. Thank you.
I would like to thank all our Green Leaders members behind the scenes, professional and student members who are working tirelessly to achieve or to make everything possible, especially the Beirut Air Quality team and the Sustainability Movement team. They are incredible, Rabia, working hard and giving us more than the expected results.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't expect we will be. Definitely, I know that we will get there, but with the speed and with the intensity and the work has been done, especially now we have mapping of Beirut, it will make life extremely easy for us. But there's a lot of work to be done. And I think what we need to make sure is we will create a key indicators of the steps that we have to do and make sure every step will go forward and develop something in the city. But it's definitely we can do something about it. There will be a lot of work to be done to have a good relation with the municipality, with urban planning departments, with Ministry of Environment. I think the key of the team, while we are talking about the technicality of it, make sure that we enhance the connectivity with the stakeholders as much as we can. And that's why the choice of the team within Green Leaders is crucial, where people they are basically connecting as much as possible. And then there will be many favors coming towards that good approach. And that's the reason talking about Green Leaders. We need to lead, and leading that is not just being ahead of achieving a result before anyone else, is by leading the transformation. And the transformation is a multi-layered things to deal with even a human connectivity. I mean, the background I have is it's engineering, mechanical engineering. And the more you go into it, more you discover that any transformation that you require, even my career was focused a lot on the zero energy, zero carbon at early stage, then regeneration. The human factor was the biggest element that would help us to transform. You know, it's enough for someone to be willing to switch off the light or to turn the tap or to put one plant that to make a difference. Is 50% of the transformation is required by having a human factor part of it as early as possible. And because what we need as well, we need to create extremely intelligent organic behavior in the city. Nothing better than a human being to be the orchestrator of this favor rather than leaving it to just a measure and forget about the integration. But that needs a relentless connection and discussions and inviting people into it and to believe in this. That's all I say.
Yeah. We have a lot of work to do,
Yeah.
and with your presence, Rabia, everything possible will happen for sure. As we discussed today, and we heard, it's not about a research. It's a blueprint for cleaner cities. It's about designing and managing the cities that has sustainability at its core, starting from every decision we make in the built environment. If we want resilient, livable urban spaces, we need to ground decisions in science, engage communities, as Rabia said, and drive bold policies. And we would like to invite everyone to be part of our journey and Green Leaders. We love we love your support. If you want to join us, you can scan our QR code on the screen. You see two forms, corporate forms or individual form. You can apply for any form you'd like. You can join us as members or corporate supporters. You can also view our website developed by our brilliant engineer, Shaza. And please don't and please follow us on our LinkedIn page. You will see definitely informative posts weekly. You will engage with our team. You will see periodic newsletter, and for sure you will hear from us what we have done with our podcast series. Everything you will see on our website and social media platforms. For sure, every contribution counts, and we look forward to have more members in our Green Leaders community. Anything, Rabia, in mind to end up or wrap up our session?
No, I think I really thank you a lot for what was done. It was well presented, by the way, and I think it's the team absorbed. And we hope that in this journey we can create more and more green leaders and taking it forward. There's a lot to learn. I think it's the learning process is understanding the holistic of approach rather than singularity of approach. This is something very important. The singularity of approach that led to a density and degradation in a number of ways. And what we have when we look at Beirut, I was reading the Financial Times and I was reading about the president of Iran himself asking to create a feasibility to move the capital from Tehran to elsewhere near the seaside. It's a 10 million people, and these guys that are sitting and they are quite congested because there is the groundwater is depleted, pollution is very high, as an example. This is something we can't do in Lebanon, in Beirut. We can't move Beirut to elsewhere. So we need to really work extremely hard to build up that capability of this very city that we know for thousands of years existed. What we need to come up with are very creative measures to make sure that it's a great place to keep living in. And we need to promote measures that can take us for hundreds of years to go. So we are not moving anywhere. We are in this very city, and we need to build it up. And the same thing with the settlement. We are a very small country, and therefore we need to focus on measures that will enhance how we're going to really to create urban living in the most sustainable green way. And we need to maintain. I mean, we have one of the best cuisines in the world, and we want to have one of the best living areas in the world, and that's how we have to push for it. So and I'm not saying it as a dreamer. I'm just saying it that this is I've traveled everywhere. I'm heading to the COP30, and I know for 30 years in the 80s I started wind turbine design, and I've never shifted from renewables and sustainability. And I've seen a number of places, and you can spot where you can have an opportunity to create I would say, leading cities or leading community because of the ingredients. People, they go and settle historically around places, and the issues when the resources were depleted, when that number ceased to be able to be, I would say, backed up by the local resources, because of not enough, I would say, natural resources into it, or environmental powers, as we talk, and forces, as we said. Lebanon still have a lot, or Beirut in particular, has a lot that we can work on to make it by far bigger and better in a number of ways. And trust me, we can force the planning permission or the planning to be done differently in Beirut, and gradually transform that city into what was supposed to be, and even better. I think.
Thank you, Rabia. Thank you for everyone for joining this crucial conversation. Thank you, Carolina, for hosting us and for supporting us during the session. Thank you to our panelists, Muhammad Shaza and Rabia. It's great to hear from you today.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. And thank you very much, Carolina, for dealing with us today. And apologies, I was supposed to have a Green Leaders background. I didn't manage to put it in.
No worries, Rabia.
No, it's all good, all fine. I just have a final call for everyone present that you join Catalyst now as a member. We are a big network of social innovators, a dynamic global movement, and we are actually changing systems and driving sustainable change to advance sustainable development goals worldwide. So please feel free to join us. There's the link here. And these are some of our supporters. We have the Skull Foundation, the Schwab Foundation, Echoing Green, One Family Foundation, Ashoka, and a whole other of partners and supporters that have made this Catalyzing Change Week possible. And also feel free to follow us on our multiple platforms. We also have a newsletter and a website where you can keep up what is happening in Catalyst now. Thank you so much once again.
No, thank you. Definitely
all of
will
you
do.
Green Leaders for showing us your results and for showing the amazing work that you've been doing. It was quite elucidating, and it was very insightful. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And if there's any other questions, please feel free to leave them.
No, I think it's fine. We would love to keep that sort of relation and increase that coordination. And there's a lot from our end, especially on the sustainable development goals and other bits that we can interact and like you guys, you are allowing us, we can even promote people who are dealing with even into other regions or other sectors. Or we will make sure there will be better coordination and connection with you guys, that's for sure.
That's great news. I hope to hear from you soon. And thank you so much for once again for this amazing session.
No,
I'll
thank
see
you.
you in the
Thank
future.
you.
All right, you take care.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.